Hello viewers, if you are new to the channel, please hit the like and subscribe button and share it with your friends. Also, click on the bell icon so that you get the latest information about the videos that are uploaded. Hello students, welcome back to the new video. In this video, we will continue the chapter number 2, Microorganisms, Friends and Foe. In today's session, we will discuss about the classification of microorganisms. Students, in the previous class, we have learned what are microorganisms. Now, you know that microorganisms are the tiny living organisms that can be seen only under a microscope. And also, you know that they can live in everywhere in the biosphere. Whatever the extreme conditions it may be, microorganisms can survive. Now, based on all these characteristics, we will learn how they are classified into groups. See, based on the characteristics, the microorganisms are classified into 5 major groups. They are bacteria, fungi, protozoa, algae and viruses. See, here the bacteria is the plural form of bacterium. Bacterium is the singular form. Fungi is the plural form of fungus. That is a singular form. Protozoa is the plural form of protozoan. Algae is the plural form of alga. Similarly, viruses is the plural form of virus. You might be thinking why they are given in the plural form. This is because most of the microorganisms live in colonies. Some of them live in the single also, but many of the microorganisms live in colonies. Colonies means in group. So usually they are known in the plural form. Now let us discuss about these groups of microorganisms one by one. First of all, we will discuss about bacteria. Bacteria are one of the simplest and oldest unicellular organisms. They have been on this earth for over 1.2 billion years. They have a hard outer covering called cyst that protects them from the harsh weather conditions. They remain inactive in it and multiply only when conditions are favorable. So this is a brief description about bacteria. Bacteria are one of the simplest and oldest unicellular organisms. You have learned that microorganisms, most of them are unicellular, but there are some multicellular organisms also. So these bacteria are unicellular and they are there on this planet Earth over 1.2 billion years. And we have seen that why they are able to survive for such a long time, because they can easily adapt to the environmental changes. Now, looking at their structure, they have a outer covering that is very hard and that is called as cyst. So, what is the outer covering of the bacteria called? Cyst. They protect, that is this cover protect them from the harsh weather conditions. So, they remain inactive in this outer covering called cyst and multiply only when conditions are favorable. So, they protect themselves in the outer covering called cyst and reproduce or multiply only when the conditions are favorable. This bacteria can be either autotrophs or heterotrophs. You know what are autotrophs and heterotrophs. That is, they can prepare their own food and some of the bacteria depend on the other things for their food. Most of them have a tough outer covering called cell wall for protection. We have seen that they are covered with a cyst. When the conditions are unfavorable, they protect themselves in the cyst. But still, they have a outer covering in their body called cell wall. And cell wall also does the function of protecting the internal part of the body. They are further classified into 4 groups on the basis of their shape. They are Coccus, Bacillus, Spirillum and Vibrio. So bacteria itself are four types, and this classification is based on their shape. Which are they? Coccus, which is having a spherical shape. Because of the shape, it got the name coccus. Second one is Bacillus. Its shape is rod-like. Third one is Pyralium. It has got a spiral shape. And fourth one is Vibrio, which is having coma shape. So Vibrio is a coma shaped bacteria. Some examples of bacteria are Lactobacillus and Vibrio cholerae. These are the examples of bacteria. Now let us see the diagram of all these four types of bacteria. Now let us discuss about fungi. The greenish black bread mold that grow on most bread belongs to fungi. You must be familiar with this. Sometimes when the bread is kept in the moist condition or any other food item is kept in the moist condition, you can see some greenish black substance growing on it. That is actually fungi. And also you must have seen the mushrooms growing on a damp places, or you might have even eaten that as a dish or on a pizza. So this mushroom also belongs to the fungi group. The yeast is another common fungus that is used in baking industries. You might have heard this word yeast, or you might have enjoyed the fluffy cake. Now, how these substances are made fluffy? That is with the help of yeast. And do you know what is yeast? Yeast is another common fungus, and mainly yeast is used in the baking industries. Fungi are both unicellular and microscopic, or multicellular and large. See, it means that there are unicellular fungi also and multicellular fungi also. See, yeast is an example of microscopic fungi, whereas the mushrooms, bread mold, they are not unicellular. They are coming under the group multicellular. That means they contain many cells. We can see them with our naked eyes. Now, these are non-green organisms and so cannot make their own food. They show saprophytic mode of nutrition and obtain their food from the dead and decaying organic matter. So, based on their food habit, these fungi are saprophytic. You must have learned about the saprophytic mode of nutrition in the previous class. That means the organisms that live on the dead and decaying organisms and take their nutrition are called saprophytes. And this mode of nutrition is known as saprophytic. So fungi are an example of saprophytic mode of nutrition. So they obtain their food from the dead and decaying organic matter. Some examples of fungi are Rhizopus, Agaricus and Penicillium. These are the examples of fungi. Now let us see their diagram. Now let us discuss about the third category of microorganism, Protozoa. They are unicellular microscopic organisms and possess features similar to animals. They are heterotrophic and can move around to obtain their food. So, Protozoa are unicellular organisms. They are microscopic and their features are similar to animals. They are heterotrophic. You are familiar with the term heterotrophs. Heterotrophs are the organisms that depend on other living organisms for their food. So, protozoa are heterotrophic in nature. So, they move around to obtain their food. Paramecium has hair-like cilia, Euglena has whip-like flagella, and amoeba has pseudopodia to help capture food and move from one place to another. So, these are all examples of protozoa. Which are they? Paramecium. Paramecium has got a hair-like cilia, hair-like structure called cilia that help them to capture the food. Euglena is another example which has got a whip-like flagella. It is the structure that helps to capture its food. And you are familiar with the term amoeba, which has got a false feet known as pseudopodia, which help to capture the food. And this structure also help them to move from one place to another. So which are the examples of protozoa? Paramecium, Euglena and amoeba. Some protozoans are parasitic like Plasmodium that causes malaria. We have seen that protozoans or protozoa can be heterotrophic, but there is an exemption like Plasmodium. It is a protozoan that causes malaria because it is a parasite that lives in the body of other organisms and harm them. So, protozoa can be heterotrophic as well as parasitic. Protozoa can be found in fresh water, salt water, soil and within the bodies of other organisms. Now let us see the diagrams of protozoa. Now let us discuss about algae. Algae are found in aquatic habitats, both freshwater and marine. So where do we find algae? They are aquatic in nature. They are found in the freshwater and marine, that is salty water. They are simple plant-like autotrophic organisms that contain chlorophyll. So algae are autotrophic. What does it mean? They can make their own food because they contain chlorophyll. This can be unicellular like Chlamydomonas or multicellular like seaweed. So, algae can be unicellular or multicellular. Example of unicellular algae is Chlamydomonas and multicellular algae is seaweed. They lack true root, stem, leaves and vascular tissue. So, even though they contain chlorophyll, we do not classify them as plants. Do you know why? Because they don't have the true root, stem, leaves and the vascular tissues. So, we don't consider them as the plants even though they are autotrophic in nature. Some algae are found in colonies also. Now, let us see the diagram of some algae. Now, we will discuss about the fifth group of microorganisms, viruses. They are very small microscopic organisms and cannot be seen using ordinary compound microscope. They can be seen only through an electron microscope. So, the fifth group of microorganisms, viruses, are little bit different from the other four groups. They are very small. They are smaller than even bacteria, that they cannot be seen under our ordinary compound microscope. Then how do we see them? Under a very powerful electron microscope. And they show the features of both living and non-living things. So we cannot classify them specifically as living thing or non-living thing, because they show the characteristic features of both living and non-living things. They do not carry out metabolism on their own. That means their body functions are not carried out by themselves. When they infect a plant, animal or human body, they use host cells machinery to synthesize their proteins, grow and reproduce. So, they are not carrying out their body functions or metabolism on their own. Then how do? They use the host cells machinery, that is body system, to synthesize their proteins. They grow inside them and reproduce also. They cause ailments like common cold and flu. So you are familiar with the terms common cold and flu. That is a very commonly occurring diseases. And this common cold, flu, etc. are caused by the microbe virus. All viruses are parasitic. See, the term parasite itself means that they live on the body of other living things and cause harm to them. So all viruses are parasitic means they all are harmful to the living things. Due to these features, they form a unique bridge between living and non-living things. What does it mean? Unique bridge. That means they cannot be considered as a living or non-living. So in between them it comes. So there is a bridge or the connectivity between the living and non-living things, and that forms the virus. Here is the diagrams of some disease causing viruses. Microbes play a vital role in our lives. Some of them are useful to us, whereas some are harmful and cause diseases. So in the next session, we will discuss about the useful and harmful nature of the microbes in detail. That is, microbes as our friend and foe. So students, I hope you have understood the topics very well. But still, if you have any doubt, you can write in the comment section. I will surely try to solve it as early as possible. Here are some review questions. Please solve it in your notebook. Thank you.